probably a little afraid right now, but I don't care.
I think to sit in here. I need to do this.
Who's sitting there?
I guess the clerk is.
She was, I still never got that email from her, so whatever. If no one's sitting here, then I guess I'll sit.
Here, I'll go get you a chair.
All right, thanks.
I got no lie. I always said we should drink this campaign. Wow. What? Is that speaker on? Yes.
You are now muted. You are now unmuted.
We'll mute them out there so we don't listen to them.
There you go.
It should be live now.
All right. That's why I can move my camera. One of the reasons I'm sitting there is because they said that the lawyer was gonna sit there. So the lawyer's not part of the board. So I'll sit there.
Okay. Yeah, I guess he thought he was gonna talk me off.
Right. That's what he wants to do. Talk everybody off. Don't nobody see nothing.
Did you put this in Collinsville Connection? I didn't see it. You want me to put just the instructions in there? I don't know.
It's totally up to you. I don't care. I mean, I'm gonna have the video later.
Okay.
So in my volume is always a lot better. The problem is.
My name is
Yeah.
Terry Bones Allen.
Right.
Has entered the conference.
What? What? I'm surprised he's coming.
Jim Stack.
Has entered the conference.
Hello. Mr. Stack? Yes, this is Mr. Allen. Yes, sir. How are you? Good. How are you doing? I just want to make sure I'm on the line when I call in, you know. Yeah, I'm on the line. I know I'm on the line. Yeah. Okay. Who else is, there's supposed to be three of us on the line. Who's the other one? Mike? Yeah, I think they're gonna take that, care of that from right there, I think. Yeah, there, yeah. Yeah. So we're good. We'll get this over with. I think to do this.
I'm about 6 feet away from you.
You want me to move your table a little bit?
No, I'm staying here, move it over there in the corner where it was.
You're more important than them. Is that what you're saying?
My health is,
Well, that's why I was gonna move your table.
I want my table here.
Well, I want the thing here.
Derek,
I want,
are you
I'm.
10 or what?
No, what about you? I mean, or 10, you're
Why
too
would
close
you
to me
move
right
it where
now.
it was?
You're too close to me right now.
Fine, move it.
Seriously. I mean, honestly, you're
I
too
know.
close to me. That's why we shouldn't be having this meeting right now. That's my whole point. I mean, what a joke. She wants to put the public outside. That's where she wants to put the public.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to
Joke. Hey, don't move it closer.
I'm not closer.
You're moving it again.
Jerry, whatever your fuck your name is.
Tell him to move down one.
I've seen a lot of stuff in my life. I've never seen.
I hope you write about this in the paper.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
really do.
You should, I hope
About
she
the
does
way,
too.
about the way he's acting.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna get 2 articles out of this one.
Yeah, you might get a whole year's worth out of this one.
I have no life. I have nothing better to do.
Oh, this is
than to
pure
drive.
entertainment right here. You watch, they won't let me speak. I don't know how it's legal, but they won't let me speak.
Uh-uh.
Stay 12 feet away from it. We can't talk. Every time they talk, but we can't talk. Yeah. No.
Terry called in.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you know too, we're recording like logs of people that call in, so we can
Okay.
add to the call-in or the sheet or whatever you guys want to do with it. We'll have a copy of
Okay.
who actually.
Yeah, I didn't actually know that you could call in. I didn't like,
I just got it set up like 10:30 last night,
I see.
so that's my bad.
No, you're good.
My office manager said you had an email for me, but I never got it.
We didn't send it.
Okay.
And Terry, you're there and you can speak, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Did you get an agenda?
No, is it the same one
I
as
think
Monday
there's-
nights?
I think there's one off my phone.
Okay. I'm assuming it's the same one that was online Monday night, right? Derek?
Yeah, no, yeah, it is basically. Which is wrong because we have to appoint a pro tem by law, and it's not even on there.
I am pro tem.
It's out there,
Yeah,
you're supposed to sign in.
Oh,
Yeah, as long, yeah, we can vote on that.
Thank you.
After we vote on that, that's right.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, it's not on the agenda.
Doesn't have to be, I don't think.
I was always told by our old attorney to actually have a vote on something that it has to be on the agenda.
It is.
Vote on supervisor pro tem?
No, we don't have to vote on that. I'm the oldest standing member.
You were appointed, you weren't even elected to this term.
I'm still the oldest.
Okay.
No, I mean.
I don't think the law reads that way.
Seniority, but long before that.
I don't think the law reads that way though. But we go by the
It
book.
says the longest standing member.
What's up, Rob?
What's up?
I've done it before, if you remember correctly.
Yeah, no, we nominated you. I'm not gonna bust the chops on that. Okay, just me and you, I guess, right?
Is that what it is?
Right. That's what it is.
line?
No mic.
What's up, Brian? Do you want to keep the back door?
No, leave that locked.
Okay.
That's when you come in.
My phone, the cherry here. Michael Foley, I'm a trustee with
Has entered the conference.
That you, Mike? Yep. Good, thank you. How you feeling, dude? Not great. I imagine. Also, you don't have that bullshit. I do, but yeah. A low grade temperature, 100 degrees, so 100.4. Yeah, but you can't let that get out of control. No.
You guys know your conversation's being heard by everybody.
I don't care.
All right, well, as long
I
as
can
they
care less who hears it.
Mike, call in, Tom?
Yeah, he's on it.
What clock we going by there?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just when Terry wants to call the meeting to order. Who's on the phone?
Flag, we're ready for the pledge of allegiance?
Hang on.
We're waiting for Kathy to come back. I'll see if I can locate her.
That's all right.
We gotta get the clerk back. Stack's on there. Foley's on there. I don't know if Terry's on there or not.
Yeah, Terry is.
Terry is, okay.
Is that it then on that phone? Oh,
Do you wanna know who's all?
They're all on, I think.
Oh, yeah, Foley, Stacks, Terry Allen, the one up front here.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Allen, I think everybody's present and ready.
We'll begin the pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. How can we have the roll call?
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
trustee Stack,
Yes.
trustee Cox,
yes, here.
trustee Mylum,
Here.
supervisor Allen,
Yes. Here. Okay, moving on to public comments.
You wanna go get them?
Is Zach gonna handle that?
Moving on to public comments.
Yeah, they're on their way in, Terry.
Okay.
They had to wait outside and then they're bringing them one by one. Can I ask, while we're waiting, who called for this meeting?
Jim and
Rob and I.
Mylum.
Okay, so two people, so you guys called for the
I
meeting.
have a copy.
I think it's a shame that we're doing it
I have a copy of the
during this
email.
crisis.
It's in writing.
Are we ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Mark Eichenbach, 16 Westview Drive, Marysville. First thing I want to say about tonight is for Terry. So I know Terry, you're out there. I'd like to thank you for a lifetime of public service. Even though I don't always see eye to eye with you on how you do things, I think, one thing I learned from you is you can disagree without being disagreeable. You're always a true gentleman. You're probably the friendliest guy in town. And I think all of us could probably learn something from you about how to have a better temperament and be more positive in today's political climate. So for you personally, I wish you the best in health and happiness and whatever you choose to do after leaving the township. And again, I said thank you for a lifetime of service. For those who haven't served in public life, sometimes they don't realize how difficult it can be. So
I certainly thank you very much.
second thing is, I'm not really sure why this is happening tonight. I had heard earlier in the week that this was going to happen next month, that when it didn't happen the first time. I think it's really fortunate that the situations that we're in, this is an odd circumstance and an odd way to have a meeting. I'm sure there are many people in the township that would have liked to have an opportunity at your last meeting, Terry, to be able to stand up and I know I've talked to numerous people that would have liked to have been here tonight to thank you and give you the respect that you're due for all of what you've done for the township and your whole life of public service. And I'm kind of disappointed that this is how your last meeting is going down. It would have been a lot better if this would have happened next month after the annual township meeting. There could have been a room full of people and stood up and gave you a standing ovation like you deserve. So I'm kind of sad that this is the way this is coming to an end and this is the way that it's happening.
Well, thank you very, very much. It just needs to be done. That's what it amounts to.
Yeah.
Mr. Allen, this is Mark Achenbach talking to, if you didn't hear that.
I just I don't know your circumstances, none of my business, and I just, it's unfortunate. Whatever the circumstances, unfortunate is how it happened. The next thing I want to talk about, and just for the record, I apologize to Kathy outside when I saw her. I sent an email to her and Vicky about the violation of Open Meetings Act. It was my mistake. I couldn't open the agenda for the meeting. I was wrong. So in honor of Terry being such a agreeable kind of person, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I apologize to Vicky and Kathy both for the email I sent. It was an error on my part, and it had nothing to do with the township. Next thing I want to talk about was process for tonight's proceedings. So it's kind of difficult when we're not in the room, when you're doing the process. So I'm kind of a stickler. I like to read the statutes and the procedures and see what it says and how it's supposed to happen. So tonight, per the Open Meetings Act, well, let's go back. I understood a couple of weeks back or a couple of months back, this was before Mr. Mateo was the attorney, the previous attorney, the supervisor wasn't present in a meeting, and they had to vote for a supervisor pro tem to run the meeting. And I understand that the attorney gave the advice or counsel at that meeting that there was 3 people present. They only needed 2 votes in order to select a supervisor pro tem. Per the Open Meetings Act, that is absolutely wrong. A 5-member board has a necessity to have 3 people to make a quorum. And once you have a quorum, to pass any motion, any resolution, or any ordinance, you must have 3 affirmative votes, which means if only 3 people are present at a 5-member board, any motion made, all 3 of the present, if there's only 3, have to vote yes. So tonight, as you go forward, before you accept Terry's resolution, the way I read the statute, you have to pick a deputy supervisor. And that deputy supervisor then acts until the next supervisor is picked. If that's 2 minutes later, someone still has to run the meeting. That person is the deputy supervisor. So tonight, you're going to have to pick a deputy supervisor. If you want, I can read the statute. I can give it to you if you're not afraid to touch the paperwork.
I got it.
Okay, got it. Okay, great, fantastic. So the next thing was, I'm not really sure why you're picking the supervisor tonight under the following circumstances. I understand, Terry, if this is your issue of why you chose to resign tonight. Again, it's none of my business. If that's what works for you and that's what works, that's fine. That's, we just have to accept it. Like I said, I would have liked to seen it done in public, but that's what happened. But for this board, you don't have to pick a supervisor tonight. You have 60 days. So today is day 1. I guess actually it's probably day 0. Probably tomorrow, the days probably start counting on the first full day. So tomorrow is day 1 of your 60-day calendar to pick somebody. What if you don't pick somebody? Well, then whoever you select as a deputy supervisor tonight, that person is the acting supervisor until you pick one. Your deputy supervisor, you have to select one of your existing township trustees. I'd like you to pick Derek. I know you're not going to do that. I'm not an idiot. You're not going to do that. So who could you pick? Well, you got 3 choices. You got Mr. Milam, who you just put on the board last time. You got Mr. Stack or Mr. Foley. One of those 3. You guys have the vote to pick one of them. Pick one. Let him be the deputy supervisor. Try to wait this thing out so you can select the supervisor in front of the public, because the way it is now, everybody thinks you're doing something underhanded. I don't see anything you're doing that's against the law. You're following the law as it is, but sometimes when circumstances make it look bad, it looks bad. If it is or not, it doesn't matter. It looks bad because people are going to say it's bad. The township is currently closed. I don't understand any reason what the rush is to pick a new supervisor because the township closed. I'm guessing the township, the highway department's doing stuff, but Larry's running that, so there's nothing to do. The assessor's office is closed and the township office is closed. And I guess the final thing I'd say is, Mr. Foley's been on this board for a long time. Even though I was in the service and gone from Collinsville a long time, I know that he's put a lot of time into public service. And again, as I said for like Terry, sometimes being in public service isn't as easy as people make it out to be. People think you're doing stuff wrong. People are very aggressive with you at times. Sometimes that's hard. It's hard. I don't know why you don't pick your most senior trustee, make him the deputy, let him run the meeting tonight, and wait it out. Maybe it won't happen. Maybe, 6 weeks from now or 7 weeks from now, you're gonna say, there's no end in sight of this, we're gonna have to do it. Then do what you're doing tonight. And then people will say, yep, I get it. I understand why they did it that way, because they only had 60 days to make the appointment. But if you do it today with 60 days to do it, I think a lot of people in town are gonna say, boy, that was underhanded. And whoever you pick is gonna start, and again, I have no idea who it is, but whoever you pick is gonna be under a cloud for the next year. So thank you for your time. I appreciate us not having to stand outside. I understand this is a very unusual circumstance, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep.
Send the next one in, I guess. Okay.
Is everyone done?
No, there's a couple more, 2 more, I think. There might be more.
Welcome. Clint Ball. Hey guys on the phone, how you doing tonight? Collinsville Township. So,
Fine.
I'm not gonna be as eloquent as Mark. He did say a lot of nice things that I would like to second, especially, Terry, too bad we can't have like a big send-off for you. We're doing it, under this situation. Thanks for your service. You've always been a nice guy to me at all the parades ever since I've been in Collinsville, so I appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Moving on to the business of tonight, I am one of those people that find it awfully funny that we're sitting here in a Chapter 2 resignation situation. Maybe it's completely legal. I assume so, but ethical and moral, not in my book. So you're here to serve the community, and doing an appointment this evening in this manner, in this time, you're definitely not serving the community that you're supposed to be. So I'll leave it at that, and we'll see how it goes. I have my suspicions of how it's going to go down, and in the next meeting, I'll probably confirm those suspicions. So thank you for your time tonight. Sorry you guys couldn't make it, but concerned citizens are here. Good evening.
Yeah, thanks for you.
Thank you. Moving on.
Uh, there's,
I want to say something.
Wait, there's
Oh, yeah.
Mr.
Wait,
Foley.
there's-
It's not your opportunity to speak. It's public comment.
Oh, okay. Whenever it's not on the agenda that way.
Anything that's not on the special agenda, you shouldn't even be talking about tonight. This is not a regular board meeting. It's a special board meeting.
Well, I don't know if that's quite the truth, because there's one item missing on here. We'll get to that in a second, I guess. Right, Bill, yeah.
Philosophics, Collinsville. I don't know, I've come to these meetings, I've said many times, we need to change the bylaws of the township. I don't care if the Illinois township officials, something is drastically wrong. This does not work right, it's not the way it's supposed to work. Terry, before I go too far, I want to say I love you like a brother. Thank you for your, I think it was 43 years, and we'll always be friends.
Thank you so much.
But in the same token, this township is surrounded with people that do not do what the taxpayers want you to do. We're up here on a Friday night. We got a coronavirus emergency, and we're here to pick or use to vote on, and I suppose someone you have all decided to vote on. I've spoken to the meetings by doing these things remotely by phone. How ridiculous. If this thing would emerge to be something catastrophic, I can see it. But we've done this early on, and we have to read this off at every meeting. It's ridiculous. Lost my train of thought. I did not write notes. I'm mainly up here out of frustration and anger. I have a lot of respect for all police officers. If you're appointing Dan Hopkins, I just think this is pitiful. Mr. Hopkins, if you are the one to be supervisor, I think this is the most cowardly act that you could ever do, and I've lost all respect. Vicki Jackson is in the office. I think she runs the day-to-day operations of the township. Pro tem wise, I think that should be her until we can nominate somebody with all-in presence and with public support. I just don't know how we can shrink any lower than what we are tonight. This is just absolutely disgusting. The taxpayers of Collinsville and this township deserve better.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Moving on,
Is
anybody else?
there anybody else?
Anybody else?
I mean, if it's okay with two people, Mike can make his comment, I'm fine with it. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody else.
Nobody else? All right.
I'm fine with that. Are you fine with that, Rob?
Whatever's legal, I mean, whatever, if he wants to comment, I mean.
Mr. Allen, the next item, please.
Action items. Action items A. Does anybody want to start or you want me to?
Let me just ask, because I think it's best to know where we're going. We've done things, so, how is this going to work? We're supposed to approve the resignation of the township supervisor. Are we supposed to select by law a pro tem first or a pro tem after? Even though it's not on
There
the
is no pro tem. If you want to,
well, who's gonna run the meeting then, once he resigns?
it's under the same action item. We can do them both back to back, okay? If you insist on their nominating a deputy supervisor for 2 or 3 minutes,
How do we know? I mean, when it's discussed, it could be, Rob might have something to say, Mike, this is our meeting. You know what I'm saying? This is the board's meeting.
If you want to do that, I mean, I don't have any problem with you guys doing that in between Mr. Allen's resignation and the discuss and vote on the new township.
He would have to resign first.
You are now
Right.
muted.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. If you just want, if then he resigns and then we just as a board then
Can
select.
we speak now?
Yes, yeah, you can, Mike.
Then you as a board would select a deputy supervisor under the statute. The deputy supervisor's duties are very limited to ministerial functions. And that would encompass today, or, I guess it's maybe very basic things. We've got, the annual meeting coming up and budget issues, and a lot of important things.
Well, I'm just.
No, budget's not until June. Go ahead, Mike.
Anyway, go ahead. So then,
Hold on one second. Mr. Attorney, seriously. Go ahead.
We have
My-
done many
my-
good things
my-
together for the township. And I hate to see this come down like it is, but it is what it is, I guess. And you just take care of yourself and that, and you are more than welcome at the township all the time. Thank you, sir, very, very much.
Right, and I'd like to second what Mike just said too, Terry. I don't know if y'all can hear me, but Terry knows, I've come and spoke with him, personally from the day I was elected. And, again, just like Mark said, we haven't seen eye to eye on everything. And I get more, sometimes even emotional when I see some of the actions, and I consider it bullying sometimes by some of the other members on this board against Terry. And Terry, and I've told you, and I've shaken your hand before, you could always depend on me, and I'll never make you look bad. And I think you're a good guy. And so,
well,
I hate to see
Mr. Attorney, this is not your meeting. Only when we ask. See, I'm not trying to be mean. This is the board's meeting, only when we have legal stuff. Mr. Allen, I wanted to say something too.
But I wasn't done.
You can go ahead.
Okay.
And then
So-
I would say something.
Right. I just wanted to say, Terry, I really feel bad that we're doing it tonight. And that's why, even before the meeting, I've been so emotional because it's just wrong to do this in the middle of a crisis when the government has us on lockdown. It says, don't leave your house. And we got to come in here and do this when the office is closed. Ms. Jackson is running the day-to-day operations. And to do this like this after 43 years, right, Terry? 43 years. I don't know how you got pushed into doing this tonight. I feel bad, and it shouldn't happen, but go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think everybody respects Mr. Allen and his service, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, or just plain citizen in the Council Township. And I hope that the board seriously considers putting it on some future agenda to honor Mr. Allen for his time to serve. I hope the board considers that. I just wanted to put that in.
So I guess we're just going to approve the resignation and then just discuss the new supervisor. Go ahead.
Can I make one comment too, gentlemen?
Yeah, absolutely.
You've always been known to be the best township supervisor in the county, let alone the state. And you've done a fantastic job taking care of people and caring about people and being kind. And you have done that with a level head and a great attitude. We appreciate you more than you'll ever know. And we're going to try to make it up to you, sir. You just did. Thank you, sir. Amen.
And I guess
In response to you, I think you guys are okay to vote and accept the resignation of the supervisor and discuss and try to vote in a new one. Or if you guys would prefer to appoint a deputy supervisor in between.
Right.
It's referred to as a deputy supervisor.
And I guess just before we get to it, the way I was reading the law, it also states that because a few times before we've kind of done it wrong, where it's just one nomination and then quickly, so it says that we can take multiple nominations.
You're free to nominate tonight if you have somebody else you want to nominate. I think that's absolutely
Right, and then discuss. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay. So, all right. Go ahead, Terry.
Moving on to the board to discuss.
You're on A side.
I think the approved aligning township supervisor, didn't they?
We have to vote on it.
Yeah, I think everybody was just honoring you, Mr. Allen. Now we have to discuss, or now the voting process. If somebody's making, the clerk.
I make a motion to accept his resignation.
I second it.
Tim? Roll call. Trustee Foley,
Aye.
trustee Stack,
Hard aye.
trustee Cox,
Yes.
trustee Mylum.
Yes.
Terry, hold on.
And so now we'll discuss and vote for a new township supervisor. So, Mike, I'm going to shock you right now because here's the deal. You've been on this board, and like Mark said, the longest. I know other people that they have a guaranteed check coming in, and some people need the money, for the next 2 months. We have 60 days that we have to appoint somebody. I think the best thing to do is to have a deputy or a pro tem or deputy 2 months when the public can come, then we can open it up to the public. And in the meantime, this helps one of our own. And again, he served the public. We don't see eye to eye on things, so I'm going to nominate Mr. Foley to be a pro tem and to stick it out until we have a meeting that we can do it normal.
And you were pro tem again, you're discussing.
That's what it says in the law. It references pro tem.
Well, section B2 talks about a deputy supervisor when you're dealing with issues of the supervisor.
Yeah, I
If
appreciate
a
that.
vacancy is
I
being
don't
filled
want
under section A for the township supervisor, then you're appointing a deputy supervisor to be appointed
Yeah, and then we have up to-
until a supervisor is
And we have 60 days, correct, to,
yes,
Yeah, that's
statute
what we want.
provides for
Okay.
60 days.
so that's my nomination, and I guess if you guys have nominations, then we can discuss each one of them.
He declined the nomination.
Mr. Attorney, sir, can we just go forward with this? Do we need a mayor pro tem, a supervisor pro tem to continue this vote?
The board needs to decide whether they want to vote for a deputy supervisor or just make a nomination.
You're right, so that was, I had nominated Mike to be the supervisor until we could meet under certain better circumstances. So, it doesn't sound like that you guys are backing that, so you can go on and make your nomination, and then we can discuss that nomination, I guess.
Well, I don't know if you heard it, but Mike turned it down.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, on it. With all due respect, and I appreciate you nominating me, but I don't want it.
Okay, well then I'd like to nominate then, Vicki Jackson, because Vicki runs the day-to-day operations. The office is closed right now, and I think that, she can definitely handle, she's been running things for the last couple of years. I think that she would be just fine right now to handle things. So that would be my next nomination.
How is she gonna run this meeting if she's not here?
No, we're talking about the actual supervisor.
Okay.
No.
We've already just, hold on, just to make it clear, we have already discussed that we don't need a person to run the
We
meeting.
absolutely don't need a deputy for these 2
Right,
minutes.
so we're talking
If you
about,
want to do that, you guys.
no, we're talking about the actual supervisor, just to make it clear. I now, yeah, so,
To run the meeting.
no.
Until the next election, the supervisor, to replace Mr. Allen.
To the first 60 days.
No, I believe, I'll let him speak for himself.
Oh, you're
I believe his
talking- you're
nomination
nominating
is
some- okay, I got it.
Vicki Jackson for the
All right,
supervisor.
for the supervisor.
I'll second that.
What, I didn't hear you.
I nominate Dan Hopkins,
Okay,
and I second that.
all right. And then I guess we can discuss, correct? Okay. I just have a little bit here I'd just like to read, and then it's to you guys, all right? It's a plea to you guys.
So before we go forward, you nominated Vicki Jackson.
Yeah, and it didn't even get a second,
And
so
Did not get a second.
you're right.
Okay,
Thank you for clarifying that. That helps. That helps. All right.
all right.
To look at where we are going, we must look at where we've been. 3 years ago, Council Township had an election with 2 clear sides. Pat Presson, myself, and Chris Bethel, and on the other side was Mike Foley, Dan Hopkins, and Dennis Hill. The voters were very clear. Pat Presson and myself received the most votes by getting first and second. Mike Foley was third, and Dan Hopkins was fourth, and barely even got in by just 28 votes over Chris Bethel. He was fifth, and then much further behind was Dennis Hill. Pat Presson had to relocate with his family to the East Coast after a year. Before he left, I strongly advocated for keeping the board 2-2 as the voters elected, and thought it would only be proper to appoint the obvious choice, Chris Bethel, who ran and got fifth. Oh.
Motion on the floor.
No, I'm talking to you guys, but I can't hear what somebody's sneezing or doing something. The problem began once Pat stepped down and I lost his vote. It was then Mike Foley and Dan Hopkins that had majority votes at 2-1. They appointed their friend Brandon Royer. Brandon lasted a year before he resigned. Dan Hopkins and Mike Foley still had the 2-1 majority and then insisted.
Like the other, your guy did.
Let me finish and you guys can have as much time as you want, I promise. I promise, okay? Then immediately appointed Don Sonnenberg without any search. He lasted approximately 3 months and also resigned. Then Mr. Hopkins and Mr. Foley instantly appointed the one guy that I had filed a police report on months before for continued harassment and threatening me. This was Dan Hopkins' neighbor, Jim Stack. Next, Dan Hopkins resigned. This has been quite the trend. Dan ran for trustee and pledged to fulfill his oath to serve the public, but became disenchanted with the amount of effort required to complete his term and abandoned his oath by resigning. The consistency of departures by those who pretend to want to help is alarming. And those appointed just cannot hack it for whatever reason, and I think you will. Every time I've requested that we hold off with random appointments, we could do research for citizens interested in serving and then select the most qualified. But the other side of the room is determined to operate with negligence and bias and install a less than ideal trustee that has always sided with the other side just to keep the majority than what was elected. Now Jim Stack and Mike Foley constitute the majority and appointed Rob Myler, once again without any public input whatsoever or allowing another citizen or a great candidate to be even considered to represent the Collinsville Township. During Dan's stint on the board, he was not present for over 10 meetings, and then he resigned. How can someone who swore to serve the taxpayers, missed a bunch of meetings, resign without serving his full term as trustee, then return and expect to suddenly be capable of leading the township? It's completely ludicrous. Dan Hopkins, at the last meeting that he actually attended, voted over $100,000 in bills without any of us actually seeing where the bills were for. And this happened multiple times. Dan Hopkins has been responsible for why, still to this day, we are in violation of state law of holding the excess of tax dollars. I motion to send a check back to every taxpayer and to even have the county treasurer agree to do all the calculations and mailing. But Dan and Mike, you too, were unreceptive. Dan Hopkins was the one that said he would help Terry oversee the senior center remodel. That was a disaster. And I know you were here at some of those meetings. We started the demo without even having permits, and the project was shut down for months. One of the biggest local issues of Collinsville Township, I'm almost there, taxpayers had over the last decade has been CARB. I've helped lead the charge to dissolve the troubled district to help our parks, to save each person of property taxes. 7,000 signatures were needed, so I reached out to Dan to help. Not only would he not help, but he stood in the way as his Collinsville Township was the only board in the whole area that failed to endorse this effort before the signatures were needed. By the way, the group, I see one of them out there, we got the signatures and the vote passed by over 80%. Recently, I went to work to obtain a grant that would fully pay for this empty land to improve the senior center. Terry has wanted this land for years, even before I was on the board, but felt the price was too high. Then because I obtained the grant, Mr. Foley and Mr. Hopkins are so against, so much so, that Dan, at the meeting to accept the grant, says we could possibly have oil and gas from a gas station 2 blocks away leak under the senior center. That was so irresponsible for a public figure to say this at a public meeting. It puts this very center at risk and the taxpayers at risk. Now, 6 months later and over $10,000 of testing, we still don't know. The grant is lost for now. FYI, the intention was to make it a parking lot for safety and the convenience for senior citizens. Dan has been consistently absent, irresponsible, and votes for things contrary for what's best for the public that he swore to serve. In addition, he abdicated his oath of office as a trustee and he resigned. Dan Hopkins has not earned the opportunity to be considered for supervisor. He has previously proven to be an unacceptable steward for taxpayers. The core values are lacking with this particular candidate today. It's honor, integrity, respect, and accountability. Great leadership does not demand respect. Great leadership commands respect and sets the example for everybody. Last meeting, I accepted Dan's resignation because I felt he could no longer fulfill his duties. Today, I reject his dream that he's now miraculously capable of being an effective leader. Lastly, to use this crisis while residents are told to be on lockdown, to make such a big move like this without the public is beyond shameful. The day-to-day functions of this township has been ran by Vicki Jackson for the last couple of years. We all know this. Everybody in the public even knows this. Now, the township's even shut down. There's no reason that we have to do this tonight. We have 60 days. Why do this on a Friday night, barring the public in the middle of a crisis? It looks bad. It's despicable. So that's all I have.
Call for the
Trustee Foley?
I think you're very, very wrong, Mr. Cox. And be smudging a character like Dan is horrible.
Has Dan even accepted?
Right,
Has somebody even asked that question
Well,
yet?
yeah, because that's a great point.
What's he doing there?
I don't know. So,
He needs to be escorted out of the building, please. Now,
so
he should not be in here.
and then again, that's why I feel like that we're doing it this way, is like, so nobody can say, but that's a good point that gentleman made. I didn't even think about that. Mike didn't accept. Dan resigned already. Dan resigned. How in the world do we know that Dan wants to accept this? That doesn't make any sense. Mike didn't accept it.
How do we know?
Motion on the floor.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm pleading with you, Rob. It makes no sense.
Well, Stack called for the vote, so.
This is pathetic. The public knows and they'll remember. It's very sad.
Trustee Foley?
Aye.
Trustee Stack?
Aye.
Trustee Cox?
No.
Trustee Mylum?
Yes.
Motion passed.
If Mr. Hopkins is outside, would you ask him to come in, please?
Actually, it says adjournment. So since we don't have a pro tem, I motion to adjourn.
A second. Call the vote.
Boy, it seems like you guys have this all planned out.
Trustee Foley?
Aye.
Trustee Stack?
To adjourn.
To adjourn.
No.
Trustee Cox?
Wait a
Yes.
minute, what are we voting on?
To adjourn.
You already said aye, Mike. Jesus.
You already said aye, Mike.
Trustee Mylum?
Yes.
Do you hear my speech? I can give it to you.
I heard it. Not falsehoods in there. And you do the law as well as you thought you did. The law states you have to resign in order to accept another position. So,
We didn't even know if you accepted it.
how do you know that?
Why do you want to do it on a night that the public can't even be
I
involved?
hate to call the meeting.
Despicable.
Your lies are despicable, despicable. Okay.
Aye.
Aye. Daniel Hopkins.
Having been elected to the office of supervisor
Having been appointed to the office
Appointed.
in the Township of Collinsville,
in the Township of Township,
County of Madison,
County of Madison,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly
that I
swear
will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office
of supervisor to the best of my ability.
of supervisor to the best of my ability.
Let me turn this off.
Come on.